I'm going to speak today about parent education, specifically with regard to our beginning keyboard children. At Musigarten, we understand the role that parents play in their children's musical development. However, we also know that just as children's levels of engagement can vary from activity to activity, so too can parents' levels of involvement, sometimes from week to week or from family to family. Depending on the parent's work schedule, the family schedule, and family dynamics, parents may be more or less involved than what you would like. Musigarten stresses the importance of good parent education at all levels of our teaching, but I think we would all agree that parental involvement is a must by the time the children reach keyboard. I spoke with two very conscientious teachers who were both dissatisfied with their parents' levels of involvement. One felt that her parents weren't involved enough, as her children often showed up for class unprepared. The other teacher felt that her parents were hovering so closely that they were actually undermining the work that she was doing in class in terms of oral development. Rather than helping the children listen to their recordings and figure out how the song goes, they were simply showing them how to play it. These conversations prompted me to take a serious look at my Year 1 students and their parents' involvement. I began making notes to see the relationship between the quality of parental involvement and the success or performance of the children in class. So here's some background about my studio. I accept only well-mannered, high-achieving, organized children of well-mannered, high-achieving, organized parents, whom together have decided that music makers at the keyboard will be the only extracurricular activity in their lives. They always practice. They play all of their songs in multiple keys, and often they play them as ABA arrangements, switching the melody into the left hand and the chords into the right hand at will. They complete all of their written assignments, and many of them play the Wild Horses in the key of F sharp minor without ever having their thumbs land on black key. Obviously, this is not the case. Here's the real story. I teach normal, everyday kids of normal, everyday, 21st century, overscheduled parents. I teach kids who don't practice. I teach kids who don't do their written assignments. I teach one little boy who interrupts me all the time with statements such as, "Excuse me, Jill, I think my head's going to explode." In the same class, there's a little girl who appears angelic, even as she pushes every one of this little boy's buttons, and then absolutely delights when he melts down. I teach kids whose parents are well-trained musicians. I teach other kids whose parents know nothing about music. I teach kids whose parents seem to have completely abdicated their responsibilities. I teach kids whose parents videotape me for the last 15 minutes of every class. I teach kids whose parents' attention is divided among 4 children. I teach kids who are essentially being raised by one parent, either due to divorce or the extreme work schedule of the other. These are not ideal conditions, but this is reality. So while I don't undervalue the role of a supportive musical parent, I think we do the best we can given the differences in terms of musical competence, experience, schedules, and family dynamics. It is very important to set the proper expectations. At a parent orientation meeting held before my semester begins, I'll tell the parents the following things. Number 1, this is an oral approach, and there are several reasons for taking such an approach. Music is an oral art, so it stands to reason that those with the best oral skills will be the most successful. We learn music the same way we learn language. That is, we listen and speak and write and read. With music, we listen, we sing, move, and play, and we learn to write and read. There is a time limit on developing oral skills. The years of early childhood, from birth to age 9, is the best time for developing oral skills. Good oral skills leads to good note reading. And finally, being able to figure out how to play a familiar song, either a song you know from playing games with friends, or a song you recognize from your sibling's CD, or perhaps a song that you can't quite put your finger on why you remember it, but there's a memory somewhere deep in your body. That is great intrinsic motivation for keeping at the task. Number 2, in Music Makers at the Keyboard, your children will learn to read music. This is done primarily through the use of notation games, which we will talk about at a later time. Our initial focus will be getting the children to play songs and to engage their ear in the process. It is very easy to teach a child how to play a simple song on the piano, just by showing them how. But we want the children to figure out how to play the songs, having their ears guide their hands rather than their eyes. So rather than saying, when you see this note, you press this key, we're going to say, can you use these 3 keys and learn to play mouse, mousey, in the housey. Be sure to keep singing so you can determine if what you're playing matches what you're singing. There is a specific process to facilitate the children's success. So parents, I want to take you through that now. We identify the note D by finding the white key that is in between the 2 black keys. Be my echo, please. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Now, the first note, bum, is D. I want to try to find that second note. Bum, bum, bum. That wasn't it. Bum, bum. What do you think of that? Bum, bum. That's still not it. Bum, bum. There it is. Bum, bum. Now that everyone has found those 2 notes, I will encourage the children to play with me either by using their 2 pointer fingers or, if they are able to, their thumb and their pinky finger. And so they will play and keep a steady beat, and we'll sing la 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 la. Sing, little children, sing with me. I love you and you love me. The next week, we'll identify those 2 pitches as being do and so. And using just those 2 notes, I will teach them how to play the first 2 phrases of Listen for Bells as follows. Listen, do, 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 so, 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 sing.
Do, 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 so, so, so.
Listen and watch. Sing and play.
Do, 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 so, so, so.
Now, who can turn that pattern into listen for bells in the...
Listen for bells in the...
When everyone has had a turn trying that, I'll say, listen, do, 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 so, sing.
Do, 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 so.
Listen and watch. Sing and play.
Do, 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 so.
Who can turn that pattern into steeple to ring?
Steeple to ring.
After the children have completed those 2 phrases, we'll all try to find me between do and so. And I'll tell them they need to play me with their middle finger, and I'll give them a hint that it's a black key. So, through trial and error, they'll play do, so, me, do, so, me, do, so, me, do, so, me. And eventually they'll find the note that is we're calling me. And then we'll sing so, me, do, so, me, do, sing.
So, me, do, so, me, do.
Listen and watch. So, me, do, so, me, do. Sing and play.
So, me, do, so, me, do.
Now turn that pattern into ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
After everyone has had a turn with that, we'll finish the song with so, 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 do, sing.
So, 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 do.
Listen and watch. So, do. Sing and play.
So, 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 do.
Who can turn that pattern into ding, 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 ding?
Ding, 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 ding.
the children have learned all 4 patterns that make up Listen for Bells. Listen for Bells is the perfect song to begin with because every single note in the song is accounted for in the patterns. Mouse Mousey comes next, and that's almost the case for Mouse Mousey, although the children have to supply the rhythm and the repeated notes. For instance, they take so, mi, do.
So, mi, do.
Listen and watch. So, mi, do. Sing and play.
So, mi, do.
Who can turn that pattern into Mouse Mousey?
Mouse, mousey.
And by singing, the children will automatically go Mouse Mousey, taking and turning it into Mouse Mousey. The following week, they not only supply the rhythm, but they have to supply the repeated notes on Who's That? Who's that? Tapping at the window. Who's that? Knocking at the door. So the children take do, so, sing,
Do, so.
listen and watch, do, so, sing and play.
Do, so.
Now turn that pattern into Who's that? So that requires that the children take do, so, and turn it into Who's that? Supplying the rhythm. And then the next pattern is re, mi, re, do. Sing,
Re, mi, re, do.
listen and watch. Sing and play.
Re, mi, re, do.
Now who can turn that pattern into tapping at the window?
Tapping at the window.
So that requires moving from re, mi, re, do to supplying the repeated notes to end up with tapping at the window. So we are incrementally getting harder and harder as the first 4 or 5 weeks of the semester progress. Our third point of discussion with the parents will be, why does do move around? Why did you start on D, but now my children come home and tell me that G is do, or sometimes C is do? I explain this to the parents by singing Happy Birthday with them, and I'll do it in 3 different keys. I'll start off here, Happy Birthday to you, and when we complete that, then we'll sing it up here, Happy Birthday to you, and then we'll do it a 3rd time down lower, Happy Birthday to you. I explained that that was the same song, just sung in 3 different keys, and we call that transposition. Transposition can be a somewhat scary prospect for some musicians, but young children don't know that it's scary, so it makes it a perfect time to teach it. And solfege, a system of musical syllables, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, facilitates teaching transposition. Rather than learning Mouse Mousey as being A, F sharp, and D, which are specific notes, by learning it as so, mi, and do, the children are able to play it in every key once they find the 5-finger position. Finding the 5-finger position is critical, but rather than showing it to the children, I'm going to sing do, re, mi, fa, so, and challenge the children to find it using their ear. As soon as the children are successful in finding the 5-finger position in D, do, I will challenge them to find the 5-finger position in C, do. Although it sounds very similar, just a bit lower, it looks very different. I'm going to challenge them to use their ear to find do, re, mi, fa, so. Whereas D, do has 1 black key in the middle, C, do is made up of all white keys. And if I ask them to find E, do, and find the 5-finger position in that key, they will find that there are 2 black keys in E, do. Parents, why don't you try to find it in C, do now? If you are unable to remember the sound of do, re, mi, fa, so, think of the song See the Pony Galloping. The first 5 notes of the song, see the pony gallop, are do, re, mi, fa, so. If you still can't remember it, go to your parent guidebook and look on page 42, and it will show you exactly what keys to push. But don't let your children see it. Just use it for reference and then help your children to use their ears to find it. The fourth point I addressed in the parent meeting is why the first note of the five-finger position is most often called do, but sometimes we refer to it as la. Most of the music that we are familiar with is made up of the 7 notes of the major scale. For instance, who's that tapping at the window? Who's that knocking at the door? Is based on do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. The second most common scale in our music of our culture is the minor scale, which is la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, so, la. That's the scale that the Wild Horses is based on. This is the dance of the wild and running horses. To build a minor scale, we start with la, and then we take each note in the same order, with do following ti, re comes next, followed by mi, fa, so, and then it will begin again with la. So this will be la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, so, la. So you see they're all the same notes. They're all in the same order. The relationship between each other is the same. Ti always follows la, do always follows ti, and so on and so forth. It just has a different beginning and ending place. There are the 4 topics that I will address at the parent education meeting at the very beginning of semester 1. Future topics will include notation games, chords, and ways to develop songs, such as adding chords or playing it in different keys or making up an ABA arrangement of the song, switching the melody into the left hand and chords into the right hand. As a well-known hero in the world of child psychiatry once told me, we can't expect everyone to move in a positive direction all of the time. An occasional misstep is okay, as long as they've got their feet pointed in the right direction. I think about that statement all the time when I am teaching. With that in mind, I have come up with the following recommendations. Everyone gets the same new song, listening assignment, and reading and writing assignment each week. Give individual assignments on last week's song as appropriate. Someone might be asked to complete the melody. Someone else might be asked to play it with adding a 1 chord, while someone else might be asked to play adding a 1 and a 5/7 chord. Constantly remind parents where they can get help. Refer them to the specific page in this parent handbook, and I often give out my email address and say, don't forget to email me this week if you're having problems. Keep an eye on the child who does not play at least part of the new song. If that happens for 2 or maybe 3 weeks in a row, talk directly to the child and make a deal with him. Say, Henry, I really need to hear a little bit of this new song next week. Is that all right? Do you think you can do that for me? And then, at the end of class, talk to Henry's parents with Henry there and say, Henry and I have a deal. He's going to play at least 1 phrase of this week's song. Always find a positive way to talk with parents. Comment on how their child is doing with the notation games, or how well his ear has been developing, how well he identifies patterns. Build in some motivators as necessary, whether it be a special snack you bring in for the class if they complete some assignment, or have them for a special game night, something that will appeal to your class and that you feel is manageable. And finally, remember that you are a good enough teacher to teach just about anybody if you can keep them coming back to class. Keep that in mind all the time. After studying the notes I kept on my Year 1 students, Here's the interesting conclusion that I came to regarding my parents' involvement. Regardless of the parents' musical experience and or understanding, the common denominator among all my children who are doing well across the board, at the keyboard, playing notation games, and in their oral development, is that their parents were involved. Their parents took an interest in the child's progress. It didn't matter what that interest was. It didn't matter if they were showing the child exactly what notes to play. It didn't matter if they didn't have any idea of how to help their child and simply acted as a cheerleader, saying, "Hey buddy, go play Who's That for me," or "Show me how to play a one chord so we can play it as a duet." As long as the parents took an interest in what their child was doing, the child progressed, both orally and at the keyboard. I think the lesson to be learned here is this: remove the parents' stress. They are dealing with far too much of it already. And if you are adding to it, the easiest way for them to deal with that is to just remove you from their lives, which won't be good for anyone. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully it has given you a few ideas to think about as you work to educate your parents. Teaching music makers at the keyboard is not easy, but it is so enriching to watch the children as they develop into thinking, independent musicians.